I'm a groupie, Jay, right here, right here. I'm a groupie. Where do we sign? Like, what do we need to do? I'll get the t-shirts. I'm good.
I was not expecting to cry today.
No. Oh my gosh! Like, why are the waterworks coming? Thank goodness I wasn't wearing mascara. Thank you.
Bienvenidos, bienvenidas, bienvenides. I'm so excited to be here with Jay de laVega and Susanne Peña. This was a serendipitous encounter that had a kind of, it's like a domino effect, right, Susanne? Susanne and I met in October, leaving the same conference where we both had presented. I overheard her talking about her presentation. I'm like, oh, I just presented too. And then we exchanged our contact info as we were literally getting on the plane, I think. And then it turned into a plática with she and I last week. And I heard about Wepa, and then I posted about it for Libro de Lunes, and then lo and behold, Jay de laVega shared it, and we started messaging, and here the three of us are. So very excited about this plática and how kind of this organic serendipity has brought us together to talk about Jay de laVega's wonderful work and advocacy and art. And I mean, can you beat that combination, right? So, but I first wanted to give the floor to Susanne, since you introduced me to Wepa, and in a way, you introduced me to Jay de laVega.
Well, it's so funny because I mean, by the way, it's always a pleasure and an honor meeting a Latinx author. So I am just wow. So super excited about this as well. And it's so funny because Jay mentioned that, she had many people reach out to her once the book was featured at Target. And the funny thing is that I was probably one of those people that I was in the middle of Target. Target for me is like my little retail therapy. And I'm browsing the aisles. And as I'm walking, I see this beautiful display that they have for Hispanic Heritage Month. And as soon as I go in, I was really pleasantly surprised to not only see, like, they had the usual shirts and whatever, but they had books. And I am a sucker for kids' book. I'm a sucker for books. I'm like, I think that books are gonna kind of drown me one day. But anyway, that's a whole different plática, I guess. But I see this amazing book, and the pictures, the color, the cover just drew. And then, of course, the title was, of course, I'm Puerto Rican, so Wepa is in. I say it in my daily vernacular, I think like at least 30 times. So I see the title and I'm immediately drawn to it. And I always use the excuse, well, another book for my son. Nobody's going to say anything.
No. Do you want me to be a bad mother? Is that what you're saying to me?
Exactly. I would be like, nobody's going to argue that I bought another book for my kid. So here I am. I'm like, yep, that goes in the cart. Let's go. And I'm literally like, I have it in the cart, and I'm reading, shopping, and sipping my latte as I'm going through the aisles of Target. And I am like, oh my God, like I'm talking to myself. People are probably thinking like, what is wrong with her? Like, she's talking to herself and there's no AirPod in her ear. But whatever, I was super happy, ecstatic to read it. And then after that, it just became one of my go-to books whenever I do presentations in different schools and whatnot. And when Kim actually asked me, she was like, what is a book that you recommend? I was like, I got you. I actually literally had it like right behind me. I'm like, wait, right here, this one. This is the one you need to feature. So I am super excited. So yes, I'm a groupie. I'm a groupie, Jay, right here, right here. I'm a groupie. Where do we sign? Like, what do we need to do? I'll get the t-shirts. I'm good.
I'm all over that idea. And of course, it needs to have Jay de laVega's art, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, thanks for sharing how we all came to be, really, is that moment in your retail therapy, and how you had almost, I mean, true escapism, right? I mean,
Yeah.
books are portals to other worlds, and or connecting us to our own experiences so we get to know ourselves better. And so you saw it right away, just even with the title, it being culturally and linguistically relevant to you as a Boricua, right? And I don't know if I often have my Wepa Wednesday posts where I share some kind of music or dance on Wednesdays. And so Wepa, I guess I came to it being married to an Afro-Colombiano for 15 years and raising our two kids. Now he's my ex, but Wepa has definitely stayed in my vernacular, and has always just been like you said, like when I get excited, it's like Wepa, or when it's when you're celebrating, and you even talk about it, Jay, in your book, how sometimes it has different connotations.
Yeah, when someone drops a glass, you know, you're like, Wepa, you know?
Yes.
So it kind of, I'd always seen Wepa as something that was just so multifaceted to me. You know, it was such a beautiful word, and it could be celebration, but it always was more fun to me, I guess, when someone would break something or someone would fall, or especially one of the babies when they fell and bumped their knee or something. Wepa, you're all right, you know. So I'd always been attracted to that multifaceted meaning of this word that, you know, didn't mean anything, but it also meant everything.
Yes.
You know?
And
so
this is a good segue. Jay, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And obviously, like, how is Wepa in your experience as a kid, and a little bit about your work?
Okay, well, my name is Jay de laVega. I am an author and illustrator of children's literature. I am currently living in New Jersey. I was about to say California. I just moved here. I just moved back home. You know, I've been writing and drawing for as long as I can remember, but it wasn't until I got fired from a big box retail company that we won't name, but I got fired from there, and my husband was like, well, why don't you just focus on your writing? And it kind of snowballed from there. And I've just been writing and reading and trying to advocate for literacy equity for underserved neighborhoods, and just doing as much as I possibly can in the bookosphere, I guess you could say. You know, like I've really just been trying to advocate for children, because when I was young, books were always my happy place. And we moved around a lot, and I didn't have a sense of community. I didn't have a sense of culture. Like my only connection to that were my parents. And being in the military, being a military brat. And then my father went to work for the federal government. So we moved every year. And there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me. There wasn't a lot of families that spoke Spanish like ours. You know, so it just, books were my safe place. You know, books were the place that I could be safe. And unfortunately, there weren't a lot of books that the characters look like me without actually being, you know, extraordinary or in severe pain. And there wasn't what I felt like, what about me? What about just normal, boring, you know, me? So as I wrote books, I try to write books where children could see themselves and could relate to. And I wanted to write books that I wish I had growing up. So that's always been my focus for my writing. Wepa deals with ADHD, and myself, my husband, my children, we all have ADHD, and we're in a beautiful place where we can all coexist as our true selves in our home. So that's wonderful, but I know it's not something that is true for everyone. And culturally may not be understood. So I wanted to write a book where, the grandmother's not telling you talk too much or you're too busy or, no, siéntate, like just be yourself, and that was important for me, for the older generation, to the Abuela in the story to actually be able to like be the positive one. Mm-hmm. And just her finding her space and her finding that she can be true to herself, my next book, Annalise, the special dish, that one's all about food. So I'm going to have my pasteles recipe in there, and tostones recipe. That's going to be in there.
Me avisa, Jay, ya yo estoy ready. I'm ready to buy it. You just let me know.
That's right.
I'm ready. Espérate. Where do I go? Espérate.
That's right. We're ripping out our billetes, but I'm also like, you made me hungry. You made me hungry at the same time.
You know what? I used to be a chef, so it's like all I want to do is write about food, and I know not everybody wants to hear about food all the time. And I'm just like, we're about to put that pasteles recipe in here. Yes, we're gonna get it out. So that one, and then my agent is trying to sell a book, and I'm so excited about it. It's called No More Cookies, and it's about displacement and homelessness of children in Puerto Rico post Maria, which I still feel like we're not talking about enough.
Right, like, you just gave me
still chills. Going on.
Tell me the title of that one again.
That one's No More Cookies, and it's about a little girl named God, what is her name? It's my grandmother's name, Ida. It's about a little girl named Ida, and she believes that because she wished for no more cookies, because she like hates the sound of it, which I do too, but it's a sensory processing thing. Like the noise bothers me, the repetitive noise, because she hates the sound and she wishes for the cookies to disappear, and then one day they're gone and it's quiet, and she believes she is the reason that everything is gone. And everything begins to change, and they have to leave the island, and they're fortunate enough to have family in New York, but she's never been to New York before, and now she's in a city atmosphere and she doesn't understand. It's so busy, it's smelly, there's no animals she's used to, and she just wants to go home. But the moral of the story is like, no matter where you are, as long as we're together and we love each other, home is where family is, not to lessen, obviously, homelessness in the situation, but my agent said I have to have more happy endings. So, so I had to, give some hope up in there, but,
that's right. Just massage it a little, right? Wow. Yeah. And when you hear, like, Susanne, I saw you light up talking about how that topic, it really has just kind of disappeared, especially in our quick turnover news cycles. What did it make you think about, thinking about a book coming out around Hurricane Maria?
I'm gonna tell you, I'm without words, and that's a lot for me because I'm always talking. So I am so happy and sad, right? Happy because it is a topic, and especially for me, I live in Orlando, so many of the Puerto Ricans that were displaced after Huracán Maria, Huracán Irma, because it was two. People often think of Maria, but it was because Irma happened, just a few weeks before, right? Many Puerto Ricans came to Central Florida. They still remain here, and they often feel ni de aquí ni de allá, right? It's they often talk about the una nación del vaivén. That's many times as Puerto Ricans we tend to feel, and many of them came to Central Florida, and many school districts did not know how to address the situation, how to make students feel welcome in that sense. They tried their very best. It wasn't that for lack of trying, they were trying, but it was a very huge wave of Puerto Ricans coming all at once with a lot of needs, not knowing. There was a lot of homelessness. They were living in hotels. They didn't know there wasn't no stable housing for the long term. Now it's starting to get a little bit better, but then with rent prices going up and a lot of other things. So it's very important to highlight these situations, because sometimes they kind of go and get put on the back burner, right? That it already happened. We're already, it's more than 5 years since it happened, and we're like, okay, so next story, right? But the remnants of it is still there. It's palpable. It's still there. I mean, that's why it makes me sad and happy that you're writing about it and you're highlighting it, because it needs to continue to be highlighted, because, the situation is still here. And particularly, I could tell about Central Florida. It's still here. Right? We are now 1.2 million Puerto Ricans in the state, in Central Florida alone, really. And so that is significant. We have surpassed the population really of New York. So think about it in that context.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it's wild. You would have never even thought about that, right? And it's very important to highlight things like that. And it's sad because it happened. Nobody wants to write about this. Nobody wants to write about so many Puerto Ricans displaced, homelessness. Nobody wants to have to write that story, but it is needed. So I thank you from a fellow Boricua de corazón. I thank you for highlighting that story. I'm trying to keep the tears, Kim. I don't like you right now. You're trying to make me cry.
Come on. I want to be like, have a Oprah moment. Let it flow. Let it flow.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why are the waterworks coming? Thank goodness I wasn't wearing mascara. Thank you. But yeah, but I truly thank you as a Boricua. I really thank you for highlighting this, and definitely just a part of you, how you were expressing that, finding books, right? Finding books that highlight and showcase who you were. You were just writing for you, right? You never had books that featured a person like you, right? And that is so important. And as we know, right, with the book bannings and all of these things that are happening nationwide, and I'm going to speak about Florida in particular, because that's a very near and dear issue that for me, it's very important to have that students have access to books that showcase who they are, who, feature, curly hair. I loved it. I loved immediately with Wepa, the girl has curly hair like me. Oh my God, hallelujah. Like, thank goodness, because, usually it's like, no, my hair is not that. My hair's not blonde. Yeah, my hair's
not J-Lo.
Exactly, not J-Lo. I mean, it has highlights, mama, pero that's, thank you to Antonio. But yeah, it's not, so it's very important. It's important to have that. And just as you as an adult mentioned, look, I wanted to write these types of books because I never had that experience when I was a kid. So if as adults we had that recollected, that memory of like, wow, when I was a kid, I didn't have that, and it still impacted me as an adult. Imagine what it does to a little kid that came displaced from Maria.
Yes.
So So that in essence, I believe it or not, but you are being, at least in my book, girl, you are a hero, and I thank you and I salute you. So when she's, and from a fellow Army brat, I'm gonna tell you.
Air
So
Force
I
brat.
salute you and I thank you. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's like the military brats are in the building, right?
I know.
So
I might have the title. I might have the title for our podcast here. The military brats podcast talking about Jay de la Vega's work.
So I thank you. So I'm truly honored and thank you.
You know, my motto is to talk about hard things with a soft voice. And I think that one thing that publishers get wrong and adults get wrong in general with these book bans is they think that topics are too hard for children. And they think that the child is not going to understand it. Like, the child already knows. The child already knows. Like, you cannot hide it from them. You cannot, you know, try to cover their eyes. Oh, you can't see this. They are already feeling it. They're already experiencing it. They're already going through it. The same way, it's like in Wepa, I have different body types, I have different colors, I have different abilities. One of the ballerina has an artificial limb in the book. You know, like, children know, and this is, and it's not to make a big deal out of it. You know, I'm not like, oh, I'm trying to be woke or whatever. No, this is my life. This is my lived experience. This is real. You know, having people with different abilities or different body types or different colors, it's not woke. It's the reality of our world, you know? So for us to basically insult children and make them feel like you're dumb, you won't understand this, you don't get it, whatever. Like, to me, that's an insult to their intelligence. You know, that's an insult to their intelligence. So I think that there are age-appropriate ways to discuss different subjects that is completely different, you know? But I think that children are capable of understanding these topics because they're already living them. Children are already homeless. Children are already living, you know, in households that don't understand that ADHD is not a behavior, but a diagnosis. You know, children are living in situations that we don't want to think about, but it's a reality. You know, and that's definitely why I mentioned in the end of my book, at the end of Wepa, that it is a subtle nod to chancla culture and how we need to dismantle that as well. You know, like, it's happening. It's the reality of it. Like, we can't make it disappear. So why don't we talk about it with them and help the next generation be better than we were?
Wow, that's so beautiful. And then I've had so many thoughts as y'all both were talking. For example, I mean, not, for example, the displacement around Hurricane Irma y Maria. Of course, that's specific, right, to Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans and what's happening. But then the universality of displacement, the universality, and it can be people living in Oklahoma who are being displaced for some reason or another. It could be because of poverty, it could be because of a natural disaster. And so not only is it culturally and linguistically relevant for Puerto Ricans, but there's this universality to those messages.
Exactly.
And then
exactly.
It's how we can also instill empathy, because it's so important that kids can see themselves in the page and see their experiences through books. But it's also equally important that those who aren't going through those situations, or those who don't identify with that particular disability or that particular race or that particular language, that we can see those common threads and feel for each other. And that's where, I mean, I'm such a hashtag libro lover, because libros have that capacity to, I mean, I love how Jay, you said it, your advocacy work is through your art, through, what did you call it, bookdom or
my bookdom. Yeah, I mean,
it
you know,
does have that power.
Yeah, people always say, you know, books are windows, or, you know, into a life. You know, they're mirrors, but they're also windows.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay for children to see themselves as a hero of a story, but they also need to understand that other people can be the hero as well. So, you know, I love what I do. I absolutely adore what I do. And I love talking to absolutely everyone. Matter of fact, after this, I'm helping someone write their own book. And I was joking with my husband. I was like, I need to start charging for this. This is getting out of hand. You know, because I just say yes to everyone. I'm just like, I'm like, I feel like I dragged my chair, my fold-out chair, to the table. And now that I'm here, I want everyone to be able to sit down and have a chance, you know?
Yes, maybe a workshop is in order.
Yeah, you know, maybe. I keep saying I need to do something, you know, but I love teaching. I love talking to kids.
Well, and speaking of that, I want to know, so what advice do you have to someone who is wanting to write children's books and they have stories in them and they have no idea how to get started? What advice do you have? Okay,
this is going to sound very like generic, but the most important thing is to get the story on the page. You can't edit a blank page, you know? So the first thing you want to do is just write down your story. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be good, you know, but just get your story on a page. And then the next thing I would do is definitely try to find someone to lead you. You know, I always tell my kids, you know, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. You never want to be the smartest person in the room. That means you're not adding anything. You know, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So find yourself someone that can lead you to where you need to go. Even if you've watched all the YouTube videos and you've read all the articles and you think you know all the information, having someone that can help you and guide you is so important. And finding that community is essential. Writing books is a lonely job. You know, I work from home, I draw alone, and I write alone, and most of my stuff is sent through email. I email my agent, I email, you know, my booking agent, you know, but I try to FaceTime them and I try to call them and hear their voice or talk to other friends or other writers as much as possible, because it is lonely. And having someone to look at your words and say they either resonate with them or, well, this is a little choppy or whatever, is important. It gives us humility that we're not the best person or the best writer or whatever. And it helps us become better. You know, Wepa looked nothing like it did when I first started writing it. You know, absolutely nothing. And then 7 edits later and absolutely hating the book and just thinking to myself, this is never going to be over. When I saw the final version, I cried because it was perfect. And it was exactly what it was supposed to be. And surrounding yourself with those people that are smarter than you can help you create the vision that you want. So find community. Don't go at it alone. Don't think that, you know, writing is just a simple solo job. Find community. It's the most important thing you can do to write books.
Oh, what great advice. And now we know why you said, I talk to everybody, because you do have such a solitary, important work you're doing. And so having those outlets and those experiences, I'm sure, even that much more meaningful. And so talk to us, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, it's also given me such a wonderful family too, like a found family. Yes. Just talking to people has given me some of my best friends and some of the greatest family and community I could have ever asked for. And I think that when you have a good community around you, you're also able to see the good around you, and it's easier for you to talk about the hard things. So
wonderful. Thank you so much. So talk to us about your art, because, you know, so many times, and I was going to say kids, but adults too, we see a beautiful picture book and it's two-dimensional. And so we just think, oh, okay, yeah, it was made like this. And then you talk to the artists and you hear about, you know, for example, how a lot of Eric Carle's work is collage, tissue paper, and then, or you'll, I'll talk to Selena Gonzalez, who is a Chicana children's author, and her illustrator that she's worked with several times, her good friend. The work on the page, it can fill a wall. You know, the canvas is huge, and then we see it in this picture book that's, you know, 8 by 10. So talk to us about your art, your preferred media, and how you go about it.
Well, I actually started as traditional artist, and I started as a self-published author because I was just impatient. And I was like, I need to get this out. So I'm just going to push it out myself and it'll be wonderful. And luckily enough, I had such a large community advocating behind me. It ended up being a wonderful experience. But when I did my book, Petunia Brown, which the blur, but when I did this book, like now I hate it. I can't look at it. And what is this? Okay. Okay, this, I'm sorry. This is gonna sound planned, but I swear to God, it's not. Because I only have one copy of this book in my house. And I found a letter I wrote to myself.
And it just fell out?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I wrote this in 2022.
What a powerful moment.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to read you the first paragraph because it's really long. My dearest Danielle, I write this letter to you today, not because of vanity, although I do think we are capable of being quite exceptional when we put our mind to it. No, I come to you today, the 16th of November, 2022, because we are at our lowest point, and I want you to remember that words have power, and all of this was worth it. I am hopeful at least this is worth it. David was laid off on the 1st. We applied for food stamps today. We were barely making ends meet as it was, and now, weeks before the holidays, we find ourselves worrying whether or not we'll be capable of keeping a roof over the kids' heads, let alone putting presents under the tree. I won't lie and say I'm not terrified. In the pursuit of something we insist is bigger than ourselves, the world seems to be crumbling around our family. And I am extremely doubtful this is worth it. I'm doubtful if you will ever get to read this letter out loud. I don't know what else to do, though. We could be a decent secretary. But that mouth, though. All we know is truth and art. From our first story the monster at the end of this book to hiding my sweet Audrina under our mattress. Words have always brought us peace and a life that deserved much more of it. I hope by now you've forgiven that professor that gave you a C in English. I haven't. I also hope you figured out how to balance staying on schedule because we're really bad at it right now. Hopefully the future has better drugs for our mental health. In case you've forgotten your why, we do this because none of the girls in the books we read as a child looked like us. And the ones that did either hurt too much or were pressured to be exceptional. We write because BIPOC children deserve their own happy ending. They deserve to be seen and to see themselves because their existence is not a trope. They deserve to know love, hope, and joy. So many books are being banned across the country because of fear and hate. Do not write books that are digestible for the powers that be. Write the stories that are needed. Stay true to your voice. Even when we are tired and scared, it's the only thing that they can't take. I hope you're giving them hell. I hope you're happy. Most of all, I hope you've spread hope.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that vulnerability and the insight you had even in that low moment.
Oh,
Oh,
I was not expecting to cry today.
well, we're going to go for 3 for 3. So it's a win. It's a win all the way around.
oh my God.
Wow.
Jay, if I can, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's like, you forget that. Like I remember now, like thinking about that, about him losing his job and feeling like, holy crap, I am messing our family up by not having a job, by pursuing this dream, you know, and because Wepa hadn't come out yet. And I felt like I was wasting my time and energy by pursuing this. And it's just become bigger than I could have imagined. You know, it was exactly that. It was bigger than me. It was more important than me.
And then
Oh
all the themes, and some of them we've even touched on, right? Even just in our 20 minutes together, the book banning and why those voices and those books are important, and BIPOC voices and populations, and the importance of your words and your work and your art, and then trying to see that bigger picture and knowing that you're kind of led to it.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Susanne?
Jay, if I can answer your letter, right? You are giving them hell. You are. Tú eres una mostra, tú eres una dura, tú estás brutal, ¿entiendes? Like, you know, those are words I don't know, Kim. I can't translate those.
Entendido. En cualquier idioma.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, I can't. And you are giving them hell. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because as a Latina, as Boricua, it's so important to bring and highlight the stories of all of us, right? They're you know, Black, Indigenous people of color. It's so important to highlight, you know, and those voices are across the country are being silenced through book bannings. And I thank you as a mom of a brown child, you know, as he tells me, Mommy, no, yo soy browncito. You know, he tells me all the time, right? And you know, and I'm like, thank you, because I want him to be able to see himself in books, right? And I want for him that in the future, And so, and I also thank you because, as you mentioned, I remember being in a similar situation as you back in 2019 when I decided that I was going to go ahead and embark in this journey. And I don't know, Kim, you could probably relate.
I think, am I talking or I mean, are you? You went into consulting?
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you decide to leave a regular, you know, a pension, you know, tenured, yada, 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 yada position, right? And you decide to embark in consulting because you know you can impact far more, you can help others and whatnot, and you decide to do this. For me, it was, I literally decided to do it right before the pandemic hit. And I thought I was like, yay, I'm doing this. And then all of a sudden, what happens? School shut down, everything shut down. There's no money for consulting, there's no money to pay for professional development. And I, que si me las vi negras y de mil colores y no eran bonitos, you know, me las vi de mil colores, you know. So I can totally empathize and understand that struggle because I was like, oh my God, did I make the biggest mistake of my life, right? And having those conversations with my husband and being like, anda pa'l cara, like, and I had just given birth in 2019. So here I have a, you know, a 1-year-old, you know, and what do I do now? Like, yeah, oh my God. And not knowing if I was going up, down, or sideways, or I should just immediately run back, or what should I do? I was so lost in the sauce. Like I was really truly lost. And I wish I would have done what you did and write a letter to myself so that I could read it now in 2024 where I'm being featured, you know, in podcasts. Thanks, Kim. Greatly appreciate that. You know, and now doing so many other things that I never in a million years envisioned. So thank you, thank you, thank you, mi hermana latina, mi hermana boricua. Gracias porque estás batallando y estás luchando y esa es la buena lucha y hay que seguir para adelante, like my grandmother say, para atrás ni para coger impulso, ¿sabes? Así que gracias de corazón.
Wow. And if anyone doubts that like children's literature is like, oh, it's just, you know, it's just a little like for fun or like the candy on the side, it's like, no, it's it. I mean, it's all of the emotions and the experiences and come together on page. And that's why it's so powerful. And that's where your work is evident, Jay. So let's think about the kids for a sec, because one of my passion projects is I would love to have all this beautiful culturally and linguistically relevant children's literature by the authors themselves, where y'all introduce it to kids. So a teacher can be like, if they pick Wepa up and they're like, oh, you know, quiero compartir Wepa con mis estudiantes esta semana, they can click on this portion of a video and it's Jay zoomed into their classroom introducing the book. So so pretend you're in a classroom full of children about to hear your book Wepa.
I know that I just finished ugly crying.
That's right. Well, and it just shows the power of it. So how would you introduce Wepa to those students?
Okay. Hello, friends. I'm so glad, so happy you picked up Wepa today. And I am excited for you to meet Mia, who is just filled with so much joy and excitement and so much Wepa that it comes out of her, and she has to express it to the world. And I know sometimes you may feel that way when you fidget too much, or someone tells you sit still or don't talk too much. Mia experiences that too. And in this book, Mia has to go through the world and go through her family and maybe feel things that are not so great. But in the end, she finds people who love and truly understand and appreciate her Wepa. And I hope that if you have too much Wepa, you can find a place where you belong and where you feel loved and appreciated, because you deserve it.
Wepa. Wow, how beautiful. Thank you so much. And that leads me to the next question, because, you know, it's not explicit that Mia has ADHD. And as someone, I have ADHD as well. And sometimes when I'm very much a people person, and then I'm in this solitary work of consulting, and I do mostly virtual consulting. And so it gets like, I can't prioritize my list, and I can't calendarize my lists like other neurotypical people. And so it gets very frustrating. And sometimes I'll tell my wife, I just think I need to get on ADHD meds, like, because I just, what if it can be the answer, you know, for me to kind of do the things that I haven't been
I think
successful with. And my wife was like, but you're you, because you have those creative ideas and you are a big thinker, and, you know, I'll help you. And so it's like, so I just want to tell you how important your book is also for that message. And I found the video on your YouTube channel that I wanted to share.
Okay.
And I don't know, it's so cute. It is so cute. And Susanne, I bet you haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I'm like, too bad I can't go like and find another screen. I'll be
oh my gosh, it's so sweet. It's so sweet. Let me share my screen. Hold on one sec.
Oh, the sound is awful, because I did it myself. I illustrated it.
I wanted to know, is the La Voz de la Abuela, who did that?
That's my mother.
Okay, I was like, I wonder if that's Jay's mom. I was wondering. It is awesome. Okay, so let me share my screen real quick. Okay. It's short, but it's so, so sweet. All right, can y'all see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Mia. I like unicorns, cupcakes, ice cream, painting, drawing. Sometimes I like to yell all day, like this.
Mia, please.
Ya, déjala quieta.
Ma, I can't even hear myself think.
Ay, Dios, tú sabes que ella tiene mucha huepa.
Still ADHD, Ma. What the? Mia, did you make this mask?
Oh my gosh, so, so, so sweet. Isn't that amazing?
It took me like a week to make this.
Oh, I'm sure, because animation is no joke. And then you had to do every frame. And was that a new project that you had played with? You're like, I have this vision. And then a week later.
I did. You know, sometimes it's like with my ADHD, I'm like, I have a brilliant idea and I need to do it right this second.
Yes.
Otherwise, and it got stuck in my head, and I got obsessed with it, and I had to do it. And my mother helped me. Annalise helped me. And it came together, you know, and Wepa was coming out, and I was like, I want to make a book trailer for it, but I don't want to do the typical book trailer. I want to really highlight who Mia is and her behavior. So I just wrote a script real quick of something that really highlighted my family, and my mom just ad-libbing. So
Beautiful.
you know.
And are you the voice of the mom?
Yes.
And then your mom's the Abuela?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, isn't it so sweet? I mean, so what I was going to say, when I first saw the trailer and before I had read the book, I was like, oh, ADHD. And then when you read it, like the publisher's synopsis, ponen ADHD en el resumen y todo. And so I was like, oh, okay, pero en el libro es sutil. It's
well,
implicit.
That was the whole point too, is that it's like, I didn't want it to be explicitly like, oh, this is an ADHD book, because there are so many of those, you know, and that Mia just happens to have ADHD, you know, but that's not all encompassing of who she is, you know. Just the same way I have ADHD, I have mental health things that I work through, but it's not all encompassing of who I am at my core. And so I feel like people can exhibit these things in different ways. And I wanted people to take from it what was most important to them, you know? So whether it be relating to her messiness or her busyness, or you know, just how smart she is, and she has to like interject herself into everything. Like I wanted people to be able to see themselves and not explicitly go, this is about ADHD, and label it. I just wanted them to be able to relate to Mia, you know, for the person she is. So,
and I love that, you know, thanks for telling us about that choice to make it subtle, because it is so relatable. And then at the same time, if parents or educators are looking for a book that addresses those issues or adjacent ones, it's really beautifully done.
Thank you.
All right, so I have a Wepa question that we can go around, because, you know, oftentimes Wepa, for example, my Wepa Wednesday is always highlighting music and often dance. And so when you think of Mia going into that sala de baile, right? ¿Qué tipo de música está tocando? So in your mind, what's the Wepa music playing? What'd you say?
It's always suavemente.
Suavemente?
It's like when you're at a barbecue, like the scene where people are dancing. There was actually a whole barbecue scene there. And I was like, suavemente is playing on. It's playing in the background somewhere at some point. And a song is going to be played. Or it's like Mark Anthony playing in the background. Someone is going to play Mark Anthony at some point.
Definitely.
Yeah, so suavemente.
I love it. So you have the merengue, suavemente, Elvis Crespo, right? And I met him. And we had a Colombian restaurant actually with my ex and my former mother-in-law. She's the most amazing cook, and we had a Colombian restaurant in Austin for almost a decade, I think. And he was in Austin. His daughter was at a volleyball tournament, and he was in our restaurant eating. And I was like, oh my gosh! So all the it was so funny because all the Mamita, who's my kid's grandmother, she and all the cooks and all the people in the back, they're like, tengo que conocerlo. So exciting. It was very cool. And then you have Mark Anthony. So talk about suave, but the salsa playing. So I love hearing what music is playing in your mind. Susanne, what were you hearing when you were reading that book to your son?
You know what? I just thought of like a Latino party, you know, like it goes from like, they'll have merengue, they'll have salsa, they'll have bachata, and then they'll put in a little bit of reggaeton, and then it'll change to Like it'll go through like 20 different genres of music, right?
Yeah.
And even some bomba and some plena in there. I don't know why, but for me, like, I just thought of bomba and plena, right? Because especially with bomba is an Afro Puerto Rican folkloric dance and music, and it's very creative because there's no right or wrong. It's what you feel. It's by the the drums kind of lead you and you lead the drums. And so but it just reminded me of that because of the creativity that Mia has. And just it's I don't know, it just like that immediately came to mind, and just the whole plethora of music. Just having a Latino playlist, like click and it
That's
goes
right. That's right. I love it. Oh my gosh. That's exciting. What's funny is someone who I presented at La Cosecha with, she's Guatemalan, and I use music all the time. I've been a Zumba instructor for like I don't know, I think since 2009 or something, and I did like a Zumba club at my kids' school, and I want to start a Zumba for dual language families, like a virtual one. And so anyway, so I'm always listening to music, and always like this gringa, it's okay if I can do it, anybody can do it. And so anyway, it was funny because my co-presenter, she asked me in December, she's like, I need a playlist. I need you to make me a playlist because you always have such fun music. And because I use TikTok clips and stuff, and sometimes when I do family engagement, where I use TikTok clips or video clips where it's like there's Mark Antony, or there's lots of reggaeton or dembow or whatever, right? And the trends that are setting. So it's been really fun because it talk about an automatic connection, because that besides books, music is another art form that just connects, right? It connects and opens worlds, and so I love that last bit of the book where it's really up to us to imagine what's playing that's getting her to shimmy and shake and get so celebrated for it, right? So just beautiful. So man, I know we could keep talking, but I want to end by just thanking both of you for joining today. And I had no idea it would be so moving in every sense of the word. So I really appreciate y'all's vulnerability here, and your trust in this little virtual box that we have. And Jay, how can people find you and support your work?
I am everywhere as author J de laVega. Instagram, like low-key on Twitter, not really. Threads, Facebook, anywhere. It's just at author J de laVega. You can buy Wepa right now in Barnes and Nobles and Kohl's, at any of your local indie bookstores, especially your local indie bookstores. I try to really push that. And if you can, request it at the library. Yeah. Even if you can, request it at the library. Maybe somebody else needs it.
Definitely. So, that's a great idea.
Everywhere.
And then a little bird told me that you also do commissions. Do you still do some commission work too?
No. No, don't. No. I am so busy. I'm sure. When I do commissions every once in a while, because I always tell people being a children's author has more emotional benefits than financial ones. And I do commissions here and there when I'm like, okay, my husband's paycheck. I still got 2 weeks. We need some, gas money or whatever. So I'll do commissions. But as far as continuing commissions, I'm pretty sure my agent will kill me.
No, we have other fish to fry. We have other fish to fry. But sometimes if y'all tune in and you subscribe to all the things author J de laVega, maybe you can jump on the pop-up commissions that happen every so often.
Yes, pop-up commissions. And then I do a very, very limited amount of them, because sometimes, like, I learned my lesson back in 2020. I opened for commissions and I ended up doing 100 commissions. And that was the worst summer ever.
Yes. Oh, I bet. You were talking about inundated, limited. Right?
Yeah, no.
Right. Well, thank y'all so much. And I can't wait. I'll let y'all know when this gets posted and I'll tag y'all and do all those great things. But what a beautiful way to spend an hour and y pico with y'all.
Gracias, Jay. En verdad que gracias. Sigue para adelante, mano. En verdad. Que estamos detrás de ti, te apoyamos. We got your back, girl.
That's right. Wepa.
Wepa.